Meet Jakeb Eisenberg, born in Ketchikan, Alaska on March 19, 1988. He is a dashing philanthropist as well as an adept philosopher. He has helped many with his intuitive and innate abilities to assess and apply developmental skills. Currently, Jakeb is working on facilitating space for people to host the shift that is and most occurring.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. We have the awesome Jakeb Eisenberg with us. It's a pleasure to have you here, and I know you've got some awesome information for our viewers out there. I'm excited. I can't wait to get started here. Let's just jump right in.
Yeah, you are excited. I can tell. This is awesome. Me too.
Yeah, we've got a lot of questions out there. There's a lot of information to cover, but can we just start with a little bit about yourself and how, what you consider yourself to be doing here in this existence?
I like the way you put that. Well, typically when people ask me what I do, I tend to say that I help people find what they're looking for.
Very nice. Now, how would you say you came to that notion?
Well, as far back as I can remember, I have always had a value for helping a friend meet their goal, or if someone's seeking something particular, if someone's wondering something about themselves, trying to organize a deal, or just as long as I can remember, I've always appreciated when someone helps me meet my needs or meet my goals, and I love the way that feels. So I think it's empowering to, if I'm helping someone in a, what would be perceived as a small way of, it might even be something as small as somebody needing a writing utensil. It's like, I have one here you can use. That feels just as good to me as helping somebody find the home they're trying to purchase. That's going to be where they raise their kids, or whatever it is, or just any scenario really. And
yeah,
I think that I've always felt that way. I've always enjoyed helping somebody learn something, or helping somebody reach their goal. That's
amazing. I think that there's a lot of people out there that really feel that same way, and that's awesome that you said that, because they might not know. They're trying to figure out what they want to do, but they've known it all along. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Well, yeah, and it's always both ends of that spectrum of knowing what you want and not knowing what you want at the same time.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so now I'm just curious. I have a question for you. Now, you've reached a heightened levels of change and awareness, and I know this because I've been honored to have you as a friend for quite some time. And
thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've mentioned to me one of the concepts that brought you a long ways, and this concept you've referred to as the organizing force. Can you explain what the organizing force is?
Yeah, absolutely. I dropped out of school early, and my education is kind of self-driven. I don't have any official education. And, for different reasons, that long stories and whatnot, but I would say that through my study of science and of high achievers throughout all of history, and self-development and things like this, it's easy to look anywhere in the universe and see that everything is organized with everything else. There seems to be a pattern everywhere you look, but I can't help but notice that everywhere we gaze at in the universe, there seems to be this unseen agent, or this silhouette of some force that is organizing everything in a very unfathomably intelligent fashion. When you look down at the atoms, and you can see an autonomous unit. There's a single thing there, and it's working mechanically. There's moving parts to it. It's doing things. It has animation. And there's some force that is allowing the parts of this thing to work in some sort of curriculum and in some sort of symbiosis that allows it to have parts that come together to create this greater whole, this this unit function. And yet again, you look at the atom, and that organizes with other atoms to again create a higher unit. It's just so exciting, because when one can become aware of the potential that your attention has creatively, the things that your focus can generate. It's it can become overwhelming as you were mentioning the size. It's like, oh, well, I want to manifest something large, or it might be small. To the universe, the intelligence is everywhere. There's enough intelligence to organize entire galaxy clusters, to be moving through. Our galaxy is moving through the vacuum of space at a rate of a tremendous amount of speed, going very, very fast. And yet, that is just one unit moving, and we move around that, and we don't even feel the force of it.
Right.
Anywhere that we can put our eyes, you can see that everything has been organized to fit with everything else.
Yes.
So I call it an organizing force.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much. So, some of the viewers may have questions and have some beliefs as human consciousness evolves, as we're all moving forward. And I just kind of want to ask you, because as we know, it gets pretty nutty when you actually live up to your true potential. You have those deep down dark, not necessarily dark thoughts, but they can be. Just the further you go, the more you realize, wow, it is considered crazy to do the utmost infinite and most true part of yourself, because it's what changes things. And I kind of just want to see how you've acclimated to that in living in this world, and how others can do the same.
Well, having an expanding awareness is not something that gets easier by any means. It's like, if anything, it gets harder, because you're having more space for more experience, for more awareness, more emotion, more beliefs,
Right.
When your awareness is taking in more things, and you're noticing how everything is connecting, or, whatever it is, having a broader awareness, it also means a lot more accountability. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't want to take responsibility in the way that, say their life might be organized, or their world is organized.
Right. Because some people might hear this organizing force thing, and they're like, yeah, okay, but I still got to pay $2.43 a gallon at the pump. How do I change that? They might get literal with it. How can we use that in the real world?
Well, you are limited by your belief. And it's also the gift that you have of choosing in the moment. So, I'm trying to think of the best way to explain what I mean by that. Are you familiar with King Solomon?
Yes.
He was said to be the wisest and wealthiest man to ever live. Riches beyond anything anybody has ever accomplished. He's a particular character. I really appreciate the teachings of King Solomon, but he had a moment of enlightenment. He had a conscious contact with God, or with this organizing intelligence. He's having a moment of enlightenment where he's realizing that any potential creation is possible through him, and he's feeling a tremendous amount of power and a tremendous amount of responsibility of how to show up to this. So in the Bible, the story is he has a conversation with God, and God's pleased with his, what's the word I'm looking for when you're in service to God?
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you know what I mean. God is pleased with his, his holding it down for the clique, the way he represents.
Yeah, basically,
he's being a truth, he's holding it down. So God's like, good job. And so he's basically having the moment of, God tells him that because I am pleased with you, I will give you anything that your heart desires. Anything that you want, it will be yours. Just say what it is. So he's having this moment where he is realizing he can have anything that he chooses. And, I think about what a lot of people would do in that moment of, oh, you mean I'm having a personal moment with the all-creating force, and I'm realizing I get to direct that energy in any way I choose?
Right.
A lot of people I know would have probably a long list of things that would be nice, like you're saying, 243 at the pump, this and that. King Solomon's response is what led him to all of his glory. And it's true. He said, I would like a discerning heart. Basically meaning that, not necessarily that I want to know the will of God, but I want to know the difference between good and bad. I want, basically accepting the fact that I have to choose in every moment how to act.
Yes.
That God isn't going to choose or make it for me. That I am a co-creator. I am responsible to guide this creative energy. I am accountable to guiding this energy. So I will ask you, God, if you are going to give me anything, to at least let me know the difference between what is good and bad. Give me a discerning heart. When to be compassionate, when,
Right.
It was the wisest thing you could have ever asked for, because just by knowing the difference between good and bad and accepting the responsibility of having the choice to direct that energy, allowed him to face the responsibility and lead with his heart. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just as a reflection from myself, if it helps, it feels like you're kind of saying, like, just keep taking it on and don't back down. And I know that sounds cliche because everybody says that, but you mean it quite literally. Like, that your awareness is expanding, so expect it to keep expanding.
Yes, exactly. And it's not something that happens after you do 100 meditations or you say 100 prayers, or the awareness doesn't happen when you do this thing or once you pay this price for it. It's an ever-present invitation. And
Very well said.
There's also ever-present distraction from that.
Yes.
And that's why it doesn't ever get easier. It's like it's not like you reach a checkpoint and then you're done. Enlightenment isn't something that once you turn it on, that's it. It's it's now.
Absolutely. The journey, not the destination.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well said.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, I actually have a quote of yours. And this is something that I absolutely love. This is a quote that as soon as you said it, I've been thinking about it ever since. So I love it. And I was hoping you would give some insight as to how to apply it to our lives. Okay. It says, I am all of the above. I'm just exploring myself, and I'm not done yet. And I love that. I get goosebumps right now thinking about it. It's awesome. And I don't know, you remember that quote?
Yeah, absolutely.
I asked you over the phone, and we were on the phone together, and I just love that quote. How would you say that that's applicable to our lives?
Yeah, I am all of the above, and I'm just exploring myself, and I'm not done yet. I remember that conversation. That was a great conversation, by the way. Thank you.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, it just goes back to, as I was saying, about being unidentified. That, I've been the main character of stories that would seem to be, you would never guess that they were the same person. I'm okay with being, somebody telling a story about someone they know that made the biggest blunder ever, and it was a huge mistake, or something that was, just atrocious or rude or vulgar or something like this, and it's likely that that story was about me. There's a high probability of that.
Yeah.
And, if you hear somebody, telling a story about a genius man that created a solution for everybody, or did some noble thing, that's probably also a story about me. It is my intention to grow, and it is my intention to expand. And the person that is going to help me the most with that or hurt me the most with that is myself.
Yes.
So, for instance, if I'm in the process of growing or I'm learning something, how am I helping myself? Am I approaching myself in an aggressive way? Is my self-talk stifling? Is it discouraging? Or do I have an encouraging narrative in my mind? So when I say that I'm all of the above, I mean that I give myself permission to be that guy that if you were telling a story of the main character that made the biggest blunder you've ever heard, and it's a story about someone who made the greatest mistake, it's like, that's likely that story was about me. Or if you're telling about a story that someone who came up with the most genius idea and brought people together and did amazing things or whatever, it's likely that story is also about me.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and I give myself permission to, laugh at myself when I do something as, stupid as plan an event over at my friend's house and then get all the way there and realize that I forgot all the main stuff, and the main thing that I'm responsible to bring, I forgot.
Right.
And I can also allow myself to be the guy that, comes up with the greatest solution or whatever. I might even be that person that gets super angry and freaks out, or, just whatever. The point is that all of those characters, all of those expressions of myself is just a way that we explore ourselves and the way that we grow. So it's never wrong. It's okay,
right,
as long as you're willing to own up to your actions and your influence and effect in the world, which is a very cloudy, debatable area, and you can take on more than what's yours, and you can not take what's yours, and all of that is debatable in the end anyway. But I like to believe that I'm liable for all of the above, and throughout my life I'm going to explore those different things,
Right. That's excellent. I really like that. Thank you. And I feel like you might agree too, just something we could throw out there, that a lot of people kind of separate being enlightened and successful and very well developed in their own self and helping others. I think a lot of people want to separate helping others with the things they deem not worthy of that, whether that be, like you said, frustration, anger, even quirkiness or forgetfulness. Like these things, they want to say that that's not in alignment with this infinite existence, but really it is. I guess, does that kind of resonate with what you're saying?
Well, yeah, I believe that the organizing force, to me, in my opinion, just by what I can observe, is obviously beyond an intelligence that I can fathom. I, with all of my IQ or anything, any bit of intelligence that I could muster to try to understand the workings of an atom, of one single atom, and how it works that way, and if I could do that, create something like that and manage it for infinity,
right.
I can't wrap my mind around having, being at least that ego self, that personality, to be responsible for that kind of intelligence. So,
right.
The layers of reality that we exist in, as we've discussed, you have the inner layer of the mind, and the body is responding to this inner layer, and then the next layer is responding to, it's all this extension of the intention. So if all things exist as a particle wave before it comes into form and has atomic mass, then that means that all things, including the chair and anything that is potentially an idea, all things are already existing in this way before they come into manifest. So that means if you're existing in this layer and you have the layer of the thoughts, then you also have the layer of the inner realms, like the soul, the ether, whatever you want to call it, where you are resonating through all the layers. It's not that you're just located here in this body, in this layer. You're present in all of them. So to say that I am all of the above, and I'm just exploring myself, Just like I talked about, how am I showing up to each instance? How do I show up when I'm cut off in traffic or I'm interrupted?
Right.
How do I show up to the child that is irate? How do I show up to the child that needs coddling? How do I show up to the performer? How do I show up to as a dancer? How do I show up to a singer? All of these different characters, none of them are me, and all of them are me.
Right.
And it's all just an exploration of, I know when I'm 70 years old, I'm probably not going to listen to the same music. I'm probably not going to wear the same clothes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably not going to have the same kind of hobbies. I'm going to be different, and I'm excited about that.
Yes.
I don't, I'm not one thing,
Absolutely, and that implies I'm exploring myself, and I'm not done yet.
No.
I love that.
Yeah, that is the journey, that is the adventure.
Awesome, thank you. So, what would you say are the top 3 most important things when it comes to changing your belief systems?
Well,
I like your chuckle after that because it is.
It's quite the quandary.
Yes.
Well, I would say most important is the becoming aware of what your belief systems are. Are they serving me? Are they serving the world? Are my beliefs, helping me be who I want to be? And, asking the question, do I feel empowered to change my beliefs? Do I feel capable of choosing to believe what I want to believe? So I think, first of all, just answering those simple questions of, am I capable of changing what I believe?
Absolutely.
Am I interested in what I believe? And I think
that's a good question, yeah.
I think it's really important. I think that you have something like where you have like a thin layer where maybe your soul and your mind is, like you might have your soul, maybe like a thin layer, maybe it's close to the same, where your mind is, and then you have like this physical layer of your body, your biological system, cells upon cells and little critters that make up one big critter, that is your body. And then you have, the next layer, which is what would appear as your external reality. So like if I were to grab a ball, it's, physics tells us that I'm not actually touching the ball.
Right.
I'm just becoming one with it.
Right.
The atoms don't actually touch, but we're moving in sync because our energy is synced up.
Exactly.
So if I throw the ball, now the ball is existing outside of my body, but it's existing with a trajectory as an expression of my intention.
Right.
So I'm existing, my intention, if it's my intention to move my fingers and it's my intention to move the ball,
yeah.
And it's the same manifest, that's the
I
next
like
layer.
That. Yeah.
And then, there's, the layers go on forever. I don't know everything about all of them.
Macroscopically and...
Yeah, microscopically, everywhere you look, all directions. If I'm in an event that occurs, like say for instance when I was talking about being interrupted, if someone interrupts me and I might start getting red-faced and I might start furrowing my brow and I might grip my teeth or squeeze my hands a little bit. I might start tensing up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, my body is obviously responding to something in this inner layer. I must be having some kind of thought pattern that is causing these responses. So I might think, what thoughts are creating this? And I might be thinking, this person thinks I'm just nothing, or I'm not even worth listening to apparently. They don't want to validate me, or I might think, is that true? And I might be, I might say, well, maybe I'm thinking that I don't feel worthy, and that if somebody is interrupting me, then that is compounding that, and I need to be mad at them. So I might question further, am I worthy? Is what I'm speaking worthwhile information, whether this person acknowledges it or not?
Right.
And, can I allow that to be validated without an external validation?
I like that. If I may share, I have a quote of mine that it resonates true when you say that no one has to be wrong for me to be right.
Thank you.
And I love that.
That's great. Yeah, thank you. That's right, because another thing I've noticed in the universe is that which is most divine is that which is most paradoxical.
Yes.
Where you know that the universe absolutely, truly is infinite if two opposites can exist in the same place at the same time.
Awesome.
Yet, because I'm trying to get to the point of answering the question. So, just remind me again.
Oh, yeah, it's the three most important.
Thank you.
To change your belief systems, yep.
Perfect. So, and the layers of reality. So.
That was a perfect representation, though, of how layers can take you away from...
Oh, exactly, because you can get focused on
your intentions were doing that all along. That's interesting that we would be able to share that with everybody just now. I hope you all saw that the layers of your own reality can create the most important things.
Yes.
And just now, it was not that important for him to answer the questions. It was important to understand the information. So that's awesome. So continue. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're great. Thank you. So the layers of reality are animated through your intention, through your observation of it. So I can't remember which Psalms verse it is, but there's a verse in Psalms that says something to the effect of, hold your head up, O ye gates of heaven, even hold them up. And it talks about, and it says, and the glory of heaven will, and the King of glory will come in.
Wow.
So it talks about having this posture, and as many czars and avatars throughout history, it's commonly known that if you take care of your temple, it will be a better house to spirit. You breathe deeper, you sit with good posture, you eat clean food, and it's easier for the King of glory or of spirit or whatever the teaching says will come in through these gates. So I believe that one layer affects the other. You can't do one thing to one layer without affecting the next. So if you for instance, people who practice yoga, there are yogis that are very old, but very, very healthy, live a really long time, are super vitalized because they're taking care. I'm sure there's spiritual relationship there, but you can't. The point that I'm getting at is you can cultivate a divine relationship by cultivating your body, and not in the egotistical way of I'm trying to not die. It's just in the way of, or I'm trying to impress everybody.
Right.
But just in the way that is honoring one of the layers of spirit that you exist in to thrive.
If I might interject too, I like how you said not die, because it's not fear-based in how you cultivate the body necessarily.
Yeah, well, it can be either way.
Yeah, right.
You get to choose that, yeah.
Yep.
So, for instance, for me...
What do I want?
If I notice that I'm having some kind of event, a triggering event that is giving me a response, somebody cuts me off in traffic, and I start gritting my teeth, and I squeeze my fists, and I tense, and my shoulders might tense up a little bit, and I might lean forward in my seat, or my heartbeat might increase. There's these things that start happening in this physical layer. And I can question, I can trace those physical responses back to a layer of thoughts and say, okay, what am I thinking that is causing my heart to beat and my teeth to grit and me to feel this flood of anger? And I might be thinking like, oh, this prig cut me off. And then I might question further, well, so why is it important that you respond this way? And I might say, well, I'm entitled to safety, and then I might say, I might question, so what is it that you're feeling unsafe? What is causing you to feel unsafe? And I can trace it back further and further to where maybe I'm responding out of I'm attacking something fearful. I was scared for my life, so I immediately became angry, and I can see that it was based in because I got scared more than I was fear. And then just knowing that it's because I'm having a belief that I'm unsafe, that's what I'm believing. I'm not safe right now, so it's creating this immediate response.
So you're saying the first thing is be aware of your physical responses.
That's the easiest.
Okay.
The hard part is getting to the belief, because we can be our own worst critics, and it's so hard to continue to be gentle with ourselves as if you would a child,
Right.
inside with your own mind,
Yes.
and telling yourself, hey, are these thoughts really helpful? Are these thoughts helping you become more of who you authentically are? Is this who you want to be?
Right. Like, there's nothing wrong being there, but come on over here.
Well, yeah, and like I
Kind
said,
of
with a lot of us identify with our beliefs of, oh, well, that's just the way I am.
Right.
I'm just not, I for instance, for me, I have a hard time singing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you did great the last time we did it.
Thank
It
you
was awesome.
for helping me break that barrier. It's just very much wrapped around an insecurity and a belief that I can't do it. So, yeah, it's like taking me a lot to work up and reach out and ask for help and say, like, I'm really scared to do this thing. Because I feel like I love singing. When I hear great singing, it's the most beautiful thing to me, and I love it with a deep passion. But I've always felt separate from that. And I know I'm not, and I know that's all an illusion.
Oh, yeah.
Yet it's real to me.
But I'm glad you share that, because every single one of us has a part of ourselves that we know that we are, and we're consciously moving to it. We're moving towards it.
Yes.
And we're bringing it forth. That's awesome. Excellent. Thank you. Okay, so would you say that the organizing force can be used to help with any problem that people face?
Absolutely. It is guided with your awareness. It is directed by the lens that is your perspective. So what you focus on will absolutely expand. And there are many, many techniques in cultivating focus. There's, for instance, in America, it's illegal to own eagle feathers or birds of prey feathers unless it was gifted to you in ceremony by Native Americans. So through, difficult means, I obtained one. Had to go on a journey for it. I obtained the eagle feather, and as a gift created a golden, what are they called, fountain pen?
Yeah.
Golden fountain pen to plug this, to create this magic pen, that to be very mindful of what you write with it, because when you write with this pen, it's like casting a spell, and it's pretty well guaranteed to happen the way that you write it.
That's awesome.
And here's the thing is, the pen has honestly, I created it myself, yet I know that the pen doesn't have any real significance. It is just another extension, just like the ball that you throw into the air and it goes where you want it to. It is the same extension of your intention. I believe writing is so powerful because you're taking things from the ether realm of your thoughts and giving it physical form immediately.
Right.
And it's proof that you are creative. It's proof that what is inside of you can come out.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's a great thing to write there, proof that something will come from it.
It's what comes naturally to us as children. Yet we are taught to be distracted from this and to actually look down upon the kind of practices that will activate your abilities, your true capabilities as a co-creator, because a lot of people, most people I would say, have been convinced that they have little significance, that they don't have a real effect or chance of influence in the world. And a lot of us are taught to idolize those few that will be selected as that, but most of us are just not that. And
Right.
a lot of us buy into the idea, and I think it's a bull. It's just flat out not true.
Right.
So I think one of the most important things is to first, just like I was telling you about 3 things to change your belief, is just awareness, just knowing that you have a creative capacity, that what you focus upon actually has a manifestational, intelligent force behind it.
Wow. That's amazingly powerful.
For instance, we know that everything exists as a particle wave before it exists with atomic mass. Before, just like when I'm describing the fruit, and the image of the fruit, that image, if you think about it, is already 99.9999999% into existence. It is mostly created.
Right.
The only thing it's lacking is atomic mass. And the only thing that it needs to gain atomic mass is awareness of the thing itself. Did you know how, well, I'll just ask you, do you know how Thomas Edison came up with his ideas, his inventions? He used a particular technique.
Yes, I remember you telling me about this, and this is very interesting. He actually used a mechanism while he was sleeping. And just as he would fall asleep, what was it, the object that dropped?
He would hold a rock in his hand.
A rock,
He would
that's
hold
what
his thinking rock and sit in his thinking chair, and he would visualize and think about whatever solution it was that he wanted to create. Something innovative, and that would, be a solution for a lot of people. And he would sit in his chair, and in his thinking chair, he would hold his thinking rock, and he'd focus on it. And as he would focus, he would slowly begin to drift off. And as he would drift off, as soon as the rock fell out of his hands and would hit the ground, just in between the dream state and this state, he would be just unidentified enough, just open enough, where there isn't focus happening, where there's a soft opening, for the information would and come into his consciousness, and he would wake up and write down everything that he learned.
Right back to the pen.
Right back to the pen, yes. And
bringing it out, yeah.
He would write it down. And, though it's controversial and I'm not a fan of Thomas Edison, I will credit him that his technique is invaluable. And so I would say there's lots and lots of techniques and ways of cultivating your focus. The reason why it's important is because of a thing called cognitive dissonance, where we can think two opposing thoughts simultaneously. I can sit here and imagine that I'm going to win the lottery, and say, when it reaches $100 million, I'm going to win $100 million, and I can imagine that with all my focus and all my creative force. And I can think that I'm doing it with all of my focus and intention. However, lucky for us, we have something called a subconscious, that we aren't fully aware of everything that our consciousness is processing. We're aware of a very, very small percentage, of what's actually going on in there. Yeah, and as we've talked about previously, that's why it's important to cultivate silence, so you can bring a stillness to that, churning ocean in there that you will never know what's truly in there. Well, I guess you can go through, there's techniques, hypnosis, and there's ways of discovering what's in your subconscious.
Meditation and things, yeah.
Yet you don't become conscious of it yourself.
And what's interesting is that your own self is aware that you need not know.
Well, exactly. It's actually important because, your brain is processing billions of bits of information per second, we'll say. And to that ratio, you're only conscious of thousands of bits of information, not even millions, hundreds of thousands of bits of information, basically. So a small fraction, and the reason for that is all the information that's being processed isn't necessarily important to your survival. That's why it's important to cultivate silence and stillness, because you don't know a lot of what you're believing into the service.
Right, it's deep.
Exactly. If I'm focusing on winning the lottery and I feel it and I know it, and I feel like I know it, yet my subconscious could be bringing up things like, the odds of that. Probably not going to happen for you. You don't deserve it. You would blow all the money immediately, or, whatever the thoughts are.
Right.
I don't know what's in there. I could be thinking that.
That's that part of your rested gaze.
And that is exactly my point of, Jesus said that if you had the faith of a mustard seed, saying just a little bit of focus, it doesn't even take all of your focus.
Right.
If you just have a little bit, just one moment of a pure resting gaze intention, that is, in order for that to be, there can't be opposition or judgment or want or desire. There can't be any other opposing or, there can't be other forces other than the focus of your intention.
Yes.
And it's not as easy as it sounds.
Right.
And it is as easy as it sounds.
That's exactly right. It's the same dichotomy that you were talking about.
Exactly, and that's the irony.
Yes. So basically, I'm not trying to surmise your words because they're very infinite and beautiful, but at the same time, would you agree that the organizing force is just the sheer fact that this is all perfect in order for us to be? And that does not exclude our wants and behavior and desire.
Well, when you use the word us to be, I agree with you, yet I would like to make the distinction that I don't just mean us in this realm, this physical realm. I mean us in the infinitude that we exist in as a spark of the divine. It's like the divine mind is all of that. You are a spark or a lens, a prism, a crystal that divine mind gets to think its thought paths through. And it's the same light going all of them. It's just once it hits the prism that is you, your unique refraction of that light is projected, and the way your lens is focused is upon your decision.
Awesome. Thank you. Are there any other words of wisdom that you'd like to offer to our viewers?
Well, I spoke about accountability. I spoke about being gentle with oneself, as a mother to a child or a father to a son. I would just like to acknowledge the fact that each person listening to this, for whatever reason, the organizing force has allowed events to occur for you to be in a particular place at a particular time, to be meeting yourself, to be hearing the thing that you need to be hearing, to be seeing the thing that you need to see, to be giving you the message that is important for you to understand. As we were talking about working on identification of, not being limited by our beliefs, by allowing ourselves to be all of the above, it's just really important to remain unattached to your creation. I have a friend of mine that when I first started working with him and teaching him how to use his co-creative abilities and become aware of this, the thing that he said that he wanted immediately to test this theory was he wanted some unexpected money and he wanted a car. Now, this gentleman was in prison at the time, so a car was kind of irrelevant.
Great place to think, too.
But he wanted, plenty of time to focus. But he wanted a car. And not just a car, he wanted a particular one. He's from California, a particular kind of culture area that the young men will put very large rims on their car and paint it special colors and do performance things and such. And he said that I want a particular year of Impala. He said, I want this year of Impala, and I want it on 28s, which is very, very ridiculously large. You'd have to specially customize the car in order to fit that big of wheels on it. You'd have to cut things. So it's particular what he was asking. It really put it into test. And he wanted, I think it was like $1,000 or something like that. So only took 3 days, and he talked to his mom, and apparently his brother was moving to Hawaii and it would be too expensive to take his car. So he asked Mike, my friend, if he wanted to have the car.
Wow.
Mike said sure. He checked it out. It was the exact year, the exact color, everything everything that he specifically said that he wanted. He got the car. And I think it was like 2 or 3 days after that, he unexpectedly got a check in the mail. It wasn't $1,000. I think it was like $870 something or something like that.
In the direction.
It was close.
Yes.
But it was because when he was years before, when he was a teenager, the cops had confiscated I think $1,000 or the 800 or whatever, that much money they confiscated from him because they caught him with a large amount of drugs in different baggies. So they knew that he had been selling it, so they confiscated the cash.
Right.
And I guess that all these years later, for some reason, and I have no idea why, I've never heard of it before, but somebody somewhere must have been digging through old files and said, I think we're going to give this gentleman his money back. I can't imagine a scenario like that happening, but it did. They sent him his money back, said, our bad, you can have it. Yeah.
See, that's the power.
See, that's the power, and that is the power, but here's the point.
The power that be.
Every time that Mike, or every time that myself, or anybody that I know, every time that we have used these techniques to create our reality, it's a lot like Aladdin with the genie. I get what I ask for, exactly the way I said, exactly what I'm looking for. Yet it always comes with, it's only a fraction of what it comes with. And it's always a bigger picture. There's always a package deal of unforeseen influence and effects that just, no matter how hard I refine the process, it just can't be calibrated. It can't be predicted. I can never, it's like Bedazzled. There's always irony threaded in.
Yes.
There's always both realities at once, you know?
Yes. Well said. All right. Well, I definitely know that that's going to be an invaluable amount of information for everyone out there. So thank you so much, Jake. Awesome. Absolutely awesome. Thank you.
Love you. Thank you.
All right. There's more to come. Thank you guys so much. Like I said, we're going to have some information here to get a hold of this guy if you would like to expand on any of this. He's willing to help people. That's what he's here to do, as am I. So thank you guys for watching.